Don in London, hello, and it's May 10th, 2009. My video is all about recovery from addiction. Addiction to substance or addiction to behaviour, or it could be both, addiction to a substance and behaviour associated with it. So what was my substance? Well, simply alcohol was the thing that got me in the end. And it took quite a long time, probably about 35 years. And I always kept company with those who drank, to do it socially or just to oblivion. And most often in the latter years, when I was well on the road to a new discovery about how low life could go, I was very isolated in my drinking, and my behaviour was to isolate and obsess about, I don't want to be here anymore, and why is life so awful? And simply, I just didn't know my physical chemistry, my emotional state of mind, and I had no idea what spiritual might be anymore. And the odd thing was that in my youth I had a very firm understanding about spiritual, being in the moment and now, because I had a good teacher, and that was my mother. But unfortunately the other partnership in the teaching process as a youngster was an alcoholic as well, and that was my dad. And no blame, no shame. He didn't really realise what was going on, and he had a fear of life all the way through to his end, and he had a very shortened end, simply because he drank and smoked too much, or drank and smoked too much. Yeah, just that simple. So where am I today, May 10th, 2009? You know, I've just been doing hundreds of pages of amendments on my websites, and they go back quite a few years, and some are not relevant anymore as I've moved into the video production era of my video logs. So I had to change them all, or put them away into storage. So there are some written bits and pieces still about, but mainly I'm concentrating on sharing a video message as it's the new medium. And I don't speak for anybody else but myself on this, but I share experience, strength and hope of my fellowship. That's Alcoholics Anonymous, which keeps me sober one day at a time. But before I go on to that, there's a big hoo-ha in the UK about MPs and their expenses, and they are defending themselves in the most awful way, trying to say that we only played the game because that's the way the game was played, and you know, regardless of whether the rules were right or wrong, they still played the game, and they left themselves open to all sorts of ridicule because of it. Now we can all do this, but the simple learning lesson is, where do we draw a line in the sand and start again? And I guess for me, in recovery from addiction or self-obsession, which is where I think most MPs are right now, worried to death what people might think of them, that was one of the big issues for me. So at the moment I'm okay, and I'm very sad for the MPs who have had to follow this route of remuneration, if you like, simply because those were the rules laid down by the Labour or Tory governments in the past. And what has it done? It's made a real mess. And you know, in terms of integrity, open, honest and willing to share their truth, they are backsliding and lying through their teeth, and they don't know it because they believe they are right, when in fact they're wrong. Anyway, that's me and my opinion. I'm allowed to have one. I mustn't go on too long about politics because this is about recovery, or is it? You know, the absolute truth of now is what I'm looking for, and that's my spiritual connection. So less denials, less filters about me and my life, and I well and truly got things upside down for me. I don't know what to say. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but you know, we need to find a way into recovery, and the way in recovery for me is AA, the fellowship. Helps me do everything I need to do, keep sober, and the rest will follow. I'm not in charge. I don't know who is in charge, but it certainly isn't me. All I can do is make better choices knowing what I know today. So the AA preamble, 700 meetings, 600 or 700 meetings in London every week. We say this at the beginning of each meeting. And remember, please, I'm speaking for myself. Everybody's unique and authentic in the fellowship. I don't speak for them, I just speak for me and how it impacts on my life. So the preamble goes, Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And I keep thinking to myself as I was saying that, our primary purpose is to stay on the truthful path and help other politicians to achieve truthfulness and openness and willingness to face the music. I'm being a bit naughty, but you know, people will hang on to things and not let go, because if they let go and face the truth, they have to say, yeah, we can't do this anymore. We need to change the way we are behaving, and if we don't change the way we're behaving, we won't find ourselves and we won't find our path. So I don't know, we can mix things up, can't we? Mix metaphors. So I use the AA literature here. I'm into 5 minutes now. Daily Reflections. It follows the 12-step program through 12 months. So 1 step per month, and the 5th month, May, is all about sharing our fearless moral inventory with another person. Having shared it with God, or good conscience, we share it with another person. So we start to understand that if there's a name for anything we have done, or the good or bad of us, then it's been done millions and millions of times before, and we're just human. And it says here for May 10th, free at last. Another great dividend we may expect from confiding our defects to another human being is humility, a word often misunderstood. It amounts to a clear recognition of what and who we really are, followed by a sincere attempt to become what we could be. And this applies to politicians as well. And it says here, I knew deep inside that if I were to be joyous, happy and free, I had to share my past life with some other individual, or the public if you're a politician. The joy and relief I experienced after doing so were beyond description. Well, I don't know if it's the same for politicians. They may feel a bit awkward about their stuff. And we go on. Almost immediately after taking the 5th step, or is it the 5th Amendment? I can't remember. That's for Americans. I felt free from the bondage of self and the bondage of alcohol. And I felt, if you're a politician, bondage of self-obsession, and the bondage of telling lies. That freedom remains after 36 years, a day at a time. I found that God or good conscience could do for me what I couldn't do for myself. And I wonder if that applies to politicians as well. So, whether it's standards in public life or, our own personal standards we're looking to live to, I think the gift is if we can actually find the truth of now, we have a better understanding. And sometimes if we hold our hands up and say, I have made a huge cock-up and mistake of this, and I wished I hadn't done it, now what do I do? Then, you're open to finding forgiveness, either from yourself or from others. But there are consequences always to our actions, and, standards in public life or standards in our own private integrity. We have to live with who we are and what we've done. And as Bill sees it, 1 page a day, as they fall out, in a linear order here, it says self-respect through sacrifice. At the beginning we sacrificed alcohol, we had to, and if you're a politician you sacrifice the truth, you have to. Or it would have killed us, but we couldn't get rid of alcohol unless we made other sacrifices. We had to toss self-justification, self-pity and anger right out of the window, especially if you're a politician. We had to quit the crazy contest for personal prestige and big balances, just like politicians. We had to take personal responsibility for our sorry state and quit blaming others for it. Yes, if you're a politician, you can't blame anybody else for it, because you're in charge. And are we in our choices? Were these sacrifices? Yes, they were to gain enough humility and self-respect to stay alive at all, unless you're a politician, in which case you just turn into a snake. We had to give up what had really been our dearest possessions, our ambition and our illegitimate pride. And there they are all in the UK, puffed up and awkward, because the press has got hold of what they've really been doing with their expenses. But the gift in sobriety is to face up to the challenge of knowing ourselves the best we can. And if we do that, then we have a good chance to find our moral turpitude, whichever you like. But that serenity prayer helps always. God, all in good conscience, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, especially if you're a politician, and then maybe you too could be in recovery from your own humbuggery. Oh well, there you go, a bit of politics. Sorry about that, it's just my outlook.